Now, when it comes to Matthew Stafford, he's quickly changing the narrative, like I said, between the Lions organization and between how people should feel about his career. What we know now is that if you put great players around Matthew Stafford, he can at least get you to a Super Bowl. And very soon, once the Super Bowl is actually played, we're going to find out if Matthew Stafford can actually win a Super Bowl. Okay, we're going to find out answers to this whole puzzle very quickly, okay? But here's the thing. Everyone talks about, oh, Matthew Stafford's overhated because, he didn't win in Detroit. People, never gave him the credit that he deserves. And to a certain degree, I agree with you guys. I do. But here's the thing. In order for Matthew Stafford to completely change the narrative, he has to win a Super Bowl. And even when Matthew Stafford got to the Rams, I said immediately, listen, there's major pressure on this guy, Matthew Stafford, to win. Because people forget, Matthew Stafford was the first overall pick of his draft class a couple of years ago. The number one player taken in his entire draft class. Okay? Keep that in mind, all right? So there's expectations that come with just being that guy, okay? But also, the Rams have already established that they can be a great team even without Matthew Stafford. They got to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. And if you talk to most people out there, people are going to say, yeah, Jared Goff can win you games, but Jared Goff is not close to being an elite quarterback or a top 10 quarterback. He's very dependent on the situation around him. So if you think about this, okay, the Rams got to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff, who most people aren't really all that high on, at least compared to a Matthew Stafford. If Matthew Stafford is as talented as we think he is, the Rams should be able to win the Super Bowl. I think that that's a fair criticism and a fair argument to make. If Matthew Stafford has this rocket arm, if he's the first overall pick, when you put great players around him, he should be able to win you a Super Bowl. I think that that is a fair criticism and a fair argument to have. I think it's a little bit unfair, but this is the reality. Matthew Stafford will continue to have haters until he officially wins a Super Bowl. The only way Matthew Stafford can completely change the narrative, whether the narrative is fair or unfair about his career of him being a losing quarterback in Detroit, the only way Matthew Stafford can erase that narrative completely, or at least come close to erasing it completely, is if he wins a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams. Okay, because here's the thing, people. Nick Foles a couple of years ago won a Super Bowl, and no one talks about him right now, okay? No one talks about him. So even if you win a Super Bowl, and again, that's part of Nick Foles, that's part of that's on Nick Foles, because Nick Foles, he kind of fell off a cliff ever since he left Philadelphia. But the point is, even guys that have won a Super Bowl, it's not like that guarantees that you're going to be talked about as an all-time great quarterback, or people are going to always talk about you. Like Joe Flacco a couple of years won a Super Bowl. Big deal. But here's the thing. Stafford was the first overall pick of the draft. Stafford has actually put up Hall of Fame numbers. Okay? So here's the thing. There's a lot on the line for Matthew Stafford. And Matthew Stafford can totally change the narrative if he wins a Super Bowl. But if Matthew Stafford fails, then that always will give people reason to believe that, hey, I told you, even if we put a great team around Stafford, even on the Rams with a great head coach in Sean McVay, Aaron Donald by his side on defense, great weapons on the outside, and Odell Beckham Jr., Cooper Kupp and all these guys, he still can't get it done. He still can't win a Super Bowl. I've seen other quarterbacks win Super Bowls with less talent, and that narrative may be fair. It might not be fair. To me, it's a little bit unfair. But the point I'm trying to make is, look, who's the greatest quarterback of all time? At least in most people's opinion. It's Tom Brady. Tom Brady, to this day, might be the greatest athlete of all time. He's at least in the conversation. At least he's the best quarterback or the greatest quarterback of all time, if you want to go that way, in my opinion at least. To this day, people still to this day discredit Tom Brady's legacy. And Matthew Stafford ain't got close to the resume that Tom Brady has. So even if Stafford wins, he's still going to have haters beside him. But the point is, a good majority of reasonable people that will reasonably probably change their opinion about Matthew Stafford if he wins will give him his flowers probably. So the bottom line for Matthew Stafford is, look, it's great to get to a Super Bowl, but Jared Goff got to a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. Ain't no one talking about him right now. Jimmy Garoppolo, he got to a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. Jimmy Garoppolo might not be on his might not be with the 49ers next year. He's kind of an afterthought. Not everyone's very high on him. But Matthew Stafford can forever cement himself in history if he were to leave the Lions, which he already has, and win a Super Bowl with the Rams, which I definitely think he can do. It might even happen in Super Bowl 56 versus the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll see what happens. I'm very interested to see. There's a lot of pressure on Matthew Stafford, and fair or unfair, in order for him to change the narrative or at least shift the narrative towards him in a positive way, and that way actually being on an upward trend, Matthew Stafford will need to win a Super Bowl.
Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juiciest Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I currently am a freshman there right now. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juiciest Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.